if the man is more powerful, what is the goal?
The goal
what
is
is a man's purpose?
A man's purpose is to manage society.
But you're not boycotting that. You're boycotting this, you're thinking it's meaningful, but you're not boycotting Meta. You're not boycotting Google. Why are you doing that?
Howard University has $1 billion endowment, Art. They have $1 billion endowment.
Yo, what it do? Welcome back to another episode of BUA. I'm your host, Hayru Adamu. Here we talk business, politics, war, love, and everything in between. Now tonight, we're starting with something that should make every black parent, every black student, and every person who believes in HBCUs stop and ask a question. Howard University, the crown jewel of black higher education, just told 502 incoming freshmen that they no longer had a seat at the table because they had not satisfied financial requirements by the university's deadline. Now, Howard says they communicated these requirements for months. They say students were given multiple opportunities, and they say more than 200 have been reinstated. But here's the question I want to ask. If the institution was built around educating Black Americans, why was the first solution to financial problem removing hundreds of young people from the institution that had worked their entire life to attend?
Howard University, Art, they are in hot water right now because allegedly they dropped 500 incoming freshmen from their enrollment. And according to many of those black freshmen who were supposed to be students at Howard University, they didn't even find out that they were being dropped until the day they got dropped. And many of them say they didn't even find out that they had to pay, I think it was 50% of their remaining bill, Art, until the deadline. They found out on the day the money was due that they had to pay off the other 50% of their bill. And I think this was so wrong. I think this was so wrong, Art. These students were looking forward to being students on Howard University's campus. They needed more time to get their financial aid together. They needed more time to get their money together. Howard University did not communicate effectively with a lot of them. They didn't give them enough time post-announcement to get their money right, and they dropped 500 incoming freshmen, Art. 200 managed to get back enrolled. 200 managed to get back enrolled, but the other 300, Art, are still unenrolled, and I'm very disappointed in Howard University doing this to our young people. I'm very disappointed in Howard University doing this to our young people. This was wrong. Howard University has $1 billion endowment, Art. They have $1 billion endowment. Why couldn't you give those children a few more weeks? You didn't need that money. Art, Howard don't need that money. They federally chartered. They get money from the federal government all the time. They have $1 billion endowment. They were not hurting for that money. Some of the students say that they over-enrolled on purpose, Art, to see who would pay and then drop the ones who didn't. Some students are saying that they overbooked. They didn't have enough freshman beds in the dormitory for all of those students. Either way, the students should not have been responsible for bearing. They should not have had to bear the brunt of this bad decision made by Howard University administration, Art. This was wrong. You know, my cousin, the great Frederick Douglass, he was the first black trustee at Howard University. Not only was the Honorable Frederick Douglass the first black trustee at Howard University, he is the longest serving trustee in Howard University history. Frederick Douglass served as trustee of Howard University from 1871 until his death in 1895. And check it out, Art, in 1875, Frederick Douglass was nominated to be the president of Howard University, and he turned it down. They wanted Frederick Douglass to become the president of Howard University in 1875, but he turned it down. And I'm sure if he was here right now, he would be very disappointed at what Howard University did to drop those children like that with a couple weeks before school starting. The first day for class is Marcus Garvey's birthday, Monday, August the 17th. That's the first day of class, Art. They should not have done them children like that. It was wrong. I can't believe that the Democratic Party didn't step in for them children. Kamala Harris should have paid for their tuition. The Democratic Party should have paid for their tuition. Barack Obama should have paid for their tuition. Since they always want black people to vote for the Democratic Party, why didn't they help them kids stay in that school? What did the Congressional Black Caucus do? They right up the street. What did the Congressional Black Caucus do for them 300 black children who got unenrolled from Howard? You know what they did? They did nothing. That's what they did. They did nothing. And I have my suspicions, Art, as to why they did this. You know why? Howard University has one of the lowest percentages of black freedmen students of all HBCUs. Let me say this again, Art. Howard University has one of the smallest percentages of students who are descendants of African freedmen in this country.
A lot of American blacks with the last name Freeman, they gave themselves that last name because black people didn't have last names. And that's why you have Malcolm X and certain things, because we didn't have last names. And the freedmen that he's talking about are the FBAs, the prisoners of war, the American blacks, the foundational black Americans. Howard says there were communications and deadlines, but the students, they were confused around the financial aid, the scholarships, and some of the payment arrangements. So, I mean, they were able to reinstate 200 students. So if they were able to have that level of flexibility for reinstatement, what was wrong with the mechanism before? Like, why was there so much confusion? And we really have to ask who's on the HBCU boards. Like who's on Howard's board? Like they have white people on the board, and they're basically in bed with the state. Like he said, they have $1 billion of endowment. That means they're in bed with the government. Howard's their governance is vested in the board of trustees. And who are these trustees at the end of the day? And what do they do for a living? And who controls them? That's the bigger conversation. Black serving, black founded, black cultural mission versus actual institutional control. We have to ask, who should have more accountability over these communities that they serve? I mean, we're talking about finances here. We want children to go to HBCUs so they can make more money at the end of the day. People forget why they go to school. Yeah, you're getting educated, but you're getting educated so that you can bring about value to society, aka make more money and provide more job opportunities. If a 17-year-old kid works their entire life to get into Howard, gets accepted, prepares to move across the country, and then suddenly finds out they're not enrolled because of a financial deadline, we have to ask whether there's a better way. And if there is a better way, before public pressure comes, why wasn't there a better way after public pressure? They're just now starting to scramble because these things made it to the media. Sometimes these things don't make it to the media. The question is, were there an institution built from the struggle of Black Americans, right, has a responsibility to exercise different level of compassion, especially when it comes to finance and the reason why we're becoming educated to begin with. Now, we're getting into the most uncomfortable conversation, Black culture. What happens when people who became popular symbols of Black power become billionaires and start doing business with the same corporations Black America is protesting? Jay-Z's partnership with Target for an exclusive 30th anniversary reasonable doubt release has created firestorms because Target has been a subject of Black consumer boycott over the retreat and its certain DEI commitments. Now, Jay-Z didn't expect so much criticism. He responds publicly blaming Colin Kaepernick for his deal that he did with the NFL and saying, why don't we boycott other companies such as Apple and Google? But Van Lathan sat down with Godfrey on 54 Africa podcast to have a conversation about it.
Thesis there is that the Target boycott in and of itself is picking and choosing, right? That, hey, you're boycotting this, you think it's meaningful, but you're not boycotting that. You're boycotting this, you're thinking it's meaningful, but you're not boycotting Meta. You're not boycotting Google. Why are you doing that? Like, what's the point of that? The Target boycott is working. It's a boycott that's being effective. It's a boycott that's costing Target.
Yeah. What's been the impact on? Do you know? I don't know the data on that. What's been the impact?
So there's a couple of reasons how I know. Number one, the stock price has been low. But there's one way that I know that everybody should know more than anything that the Target boycott is being effective. Target is saying that the boycott is being effective. Yeah. Target is reaching out to Jamal Bryant. Target is reaching out to Al Sharpton. That's right. Target is saying, Uncle. Target is saying, how do we fix this? Yeah. Target is showing that the boycott is affecting them. If a boycott is ineffectual, if it doesn't matter, you don't hear anything from the company. Yeah. Right. I'll put it to you like this. I had to explain this to like one of my homeboys, right? Actually, I'm not even going to use that because that's not going to go over well. Because like every time I use a sex metaphor, I always get called a misogynist. So I'm not going to do that. Okay. But my point is this. No company wants anyone thinking about whether or not they should be shopping with them before they shop with them. What companies actually want is the opposite. They want you evangelizing to other people that you shop there. They want you to go to Target and show everybody what you bought. They want you to talk about how awesome it is in Target, how Target smells like popcorn. There's a Starbucks in Target. There's the LGBTQ plus section in Target. If you go in Target, there's a part of Target that features all of these black brands. So even the mere thought that a portion of the black community might have that they shouldn't be shopping there, to be able to have that consciousness resonate is very, very meaningful.
Damn right.
The question is, when everybody else was saying that this wasn't an exclusive deal with them, he also said no exclusive. He did say that. But then what was the purpose of trying to defang the boycott? Like, what was the purpose of saying, hey, this boycott is kind of selective outrage because you're not boycotting all the companies? That's an interesting choice. Like, who doesn't know that Google owns YouTube? We know that. Who doesn't know that Meta owns?
I actually,
But we don't walk
I know, but I actually interpreted it differently.
Certainly.
I interpreted it in a way that he was saying that, like, if you're gonna go all the way, right? Like if you think about like some of the lawsuits with Meta right now, with all the mental stuff and the mental health and all that other stuff. At what point do you stop? Do you just selectively choose this one?
Yes.
Or do you go towards and say, hey, well, if I'm gonna go this one, I'm gonna go here and here and here.
Because Target, to me, it's a physical thing. You go into Target and you shop. A lot of families go in there because of their prices. That's something we can control. We barely have any control of a lot of things. But to be able to stop going to a store,
What if you log off of Facebook?
But here's the deal though. We could do all of that.
Yeah.
You could be, if you wanted to, just go, hey, I'm gonna be in my house, making my clothes, milking the cow, building blocks to play with. I could legitimately detach from anything that is controlled or involved in gangster capitalism or structural white supremacy. You could do that, and you will be completely pure and consistent, and you're out of the game.
Jay-Z basically is saying, he's like, you guys don't want me to do a deal with Target, but why don't we boycott everything? But he's not really saying that because we can't boycott everything. You have to take it one day at a time, one step at a time. Target is selling an exclusive collector's edition of his Reasonable Doubt for the 30th anniversary. Like, you did a deal with them during a boycott for DEI rollback. Like, it's during a boycott. Like, what more slap in the face could you need from him? And then he tried to speak about Colin Kaepernick. He's like, well, Colin Kaepernick, he did a deal with the NFL, which really isn't true. His deal with the NFL is exclusive and it's confidential. We don't know what was signed. It's actually a confidential deal. And Colin Kaepernick came out and spoke badly about the NFL, saying that the NFL draft is like a slave auction. He said that after signing. So whatever he signed, it wasn't that he couldn't speak down about the NFL, because he continues to do so. Jay-Z, their defenders, they may say, like, he's a billionaire, he can do anything, he can sell his album anywhere, but it's like, you really can't. What do you mean we could do other things? Why don't we boycott everybody? Because of you. You're the billionaire that doesn't lead us into these things. How can we do this? Like, the question is Jay-Z really a sellout? I mean, of course he's a sellout. What does black leadership look like after you've already made it? After you've already made millions of dollars, and you could lose $10 million, $50 million, or $1 billion. Like, you really can't be a black leader, honestly, without losing millions of dollars. They say our black leaders died poor. Of course they did, because they didn't have the community behind them for real. Like, you cannot be a black leader without going to prison, or without dying poor, or without losing your money. Kanye West just lost, $1.2 billion because of speaking out. That's the cost of it. But if we all buy Yeezys, then he'll get his money back. It's really just that simple. Like, it's not about, it's about whether black influence is something we own, like, or something that corporations let us rent out. Like, if we own it, we can put Jay-Z back into position. That's what you don't understand. The black community is not gonna support Jay-Z if he falls off. He has to be in partnership with Target or with whoever to stay relevant. You see, like Michael Jackson, you see all the white fans in the Michael movie falling out. Those are not black fans. Black people don't even have enough money to support some of these people. Travis Scott, all of these big artists, they need their white support. I mean, black people make up a small percentage of America to begin with, but we have enough buying power to support each other. The people that's in position of power are supported by other cultures. That's why they have to pander to other cultures. They're supported by the NFL. They're supported by their white fan base. They're not supported by black people. Because if black people were supporting, they would not support, because then they would have to be accountable, responsible. And that's the main thing that black people don't want to do. They don't want to support a black strong leader because that would make them responsible for resources, food, water, shelter, war, defense, healthcare, education, finance, banking. They would have to be accountable and responsible. So we would rather put Jay-Z up there because he's going to do deals with the quote unquote enemy, which gives them responsibility to deal with China, Korea, the Middle East, problems, defense. That's why Black Panther was so important. Having the vibranium, that was the defense. When you have vibranium, nobody can fuck with you. It's really that simple. Now, let's talk about the things that would allow us to have vibranium, which is money, not rap, not politics, not HBCUs, money. Because you can have talent and you can have influence, you can have education, you can have culture, you can have millions of people behind you. But if you don't understand how to create, preserve, and multiply wealth, somebody else is going to own the infrastructure you're standing on.
Now, it's powerful. This scientist did an experiment with fleas. So he took the fleas. Now, fleas can jump very high. A flea can jump from the carpet all the way to your shoulder. And they took these fleas and put them in a jar. Mm-hmm. And then he put a lid on the jar. And left that lid sealed and that jar on a counter for a few weeks. Fleas are jumping. They come back, they take the lid off. No fleas jumped out of the jar. Now, a flea can jump 10, 15, 20x its height. All of a sudden, the fleas had an invisible lid on their environment. Mm-hmm. They thought that lid was there, so they wouldn't jump past where that lid used to be.
Right.
The lid is gone. And I think that we do that as people. We have these invisible ceilings that don't really exist, only in our minds. Mm-hmm. And we got to recognize that those are just self-limiting limitations, limited beliefs that we have there that we can break through and break free. And you've been able to crack that code, so that's powerful, man, to be able to break that, because now you've literally crossed out, the generational curses.
No, yeah, and I think I was just saying it and really thinking about it the other day. I was like, man, I remember I used to make 1,000 per week or 2,000 Instacarting, and I started this opportunity because I just wanted to go to dinner and not look at the menu, and worry about how much it cost.
Yeah,
whether it was a date, whether it was my family, I was like, we're gonna just get some sides today. We're gonna split everything,
right?
And you don't realize that a lot of who you are is not actually who you are. Mm-hmm. I've heard you talk about it, but like the things that you pick up and you ingest as a kid, mm-hmm. From what you see, what you hear, what your life is like, mm-hmm. typically that is the fleas in the jar.
Yes.
That, hey, even though you get to the point of you're 18 and you can take the cap off and you can go be whatever it is that you want to be, mm-hmm. you end up typically being a big part of what your family or what your parents were, or what you've seen, not understanding that, hey, each generation should be expanding more.
Yeah.
It should be the platform of, hey, this is the bare minimum, mm-hmm. and taking the lid off and saying, hey, you can get out of this because here's the things that we did well, here's the things that we didn't.
And that's what generational curses really are. It's in our DNA. We don't think we can get out of the jar. It's in our DNA. Like, they did so many experiments. You know how many experiments I heard like this? They gave a cat, a mouse, whatever animal, and they put them in this situation, and they thought that's what it was. That's how blacks are. Like, we're in a situation where we have had a lid on the jar, and we just don't think we can get out. And there's no lid on the jar anymore. Like, imagine people got free from slavery and went to go work for white people. Think about that for a second. They got out of slavery. They can open up a business right now, LLC. They can open up a corporation. They can get business funding. And there's nothing wrong with working maybe for somebody for a little bit of time. But how long are you going to do that? If you need to work for somebody for a little while to open up your LLC, make sure the money goes into your business bank account so you can get business funding and you can hire your niece. You can hire your son, which is also tax deductible. You can actually upgrade yourself. These people got out of slavery and went to work. Like my dad was a sharecropper, right? So he was on his grandfather's sharecropper, and it was owned by a white man. And, you know, at some point he gained his freedom and he actually owned the land. They sold that land, and then my dad went to the military. It's like, you telling me you got free and then you went to go work for the military and shoot people in the Middle East and shoot people all over the world because he's been deployed all over the world for the white man after you've been freed and your grandfather was a sharecropper? So when you talk about building wealth, they're like, oh, nah, we can't build wealth. I mean, they're scared of wealth. They have a fear behind wealth because being poor and being impoverished is comfortable. Being in that jar is comfortable. Going outside the jar, we don't know. Oh shit, we can fly outside. There's vegetation and food and water, and there's abundance. Abundance is uncomfortable to people that haven't experienced abundance, prosperity, and peace. All they know is suffering and hardship. That's all Black people know is suffering and hardship. And they truly believe it's in their DNA that other people should be above them. That's in their hearts that other people should have more than them. A 6-figure salary doesn't mean ownership. My grandmother would be happy if I had a job. One time when I was younger in my 20s, I had 2 jobs. I was like, I got 2 jobs. My grandma was like, you a hardworking man, young man. And it's like hardworking young, like even being a stepfather, and having like 2 jobs is honorable sometimes in the Black community because it's like you're really in a bad situation. And that comes from the mentality of buck breaking and everything from slavery, where if I need my Black son to be docile, because if he becomes strong and independent, he may buck the slave master and he may get killed. So it's their way of loving you to want to suppress you and keep you in the jar. You see, so it's actually kind of crazy, the psychology, and that's the real generational curses. It's not that your grandmother and your elders, they don't want you to succeed. They just don't know about success. They don't know about that. They don't know about prosperity. They don't know about joy. They don't know about wealth and abundance. They don't know about traveling outside of the country. Like they're like, most people, Black people, just stay in the same neighborhood. They never, like my grandma's never really left the country. Like I know she went to California a few times, but she's never left the country. It's just not even something that's interesting to her. It's just not interesting to her. What's interesting is just what's going on in the hood and like in her own state. Like there's nothing outside that she could imagine going there that makes sense. So we can't keep celebrating the people making $200,000. We have to celebrate the people that are hiring 200,000 people, hiring 15,000 people per major city, and you could come get a job. You can still hire other cultures, but you hire Black people first. It has to be 85% Black, and then we implement DEI to other cultures. We'll let y'all in and get a job because we're not discriminatory. We just have to put our people first. Now, we're ending tonight on one of the oldest arguments in human society. What is the role of a man and what is the role of a woman?
I'll help you out. It's the rib cage, right?
But
so that means that
but you're missing the point.
side by side. So that means when something is side by side, it is equal.
It's not though. It's not.
So yours is based off hierarchy. Who came first?
If it was equal, God would have created us together at the same exact time. He wouldn't have did one and then created a help.
Okay, so let's just.
He wouldn't have did that.
What is the goal then? If the man is more powerful, what is the goal?
The goal
what is a man's purpose?
A man's purpose is to manage society, build, protect, and create an environment for humanity to thrive. And a woman's job is to advise him, support him, and create a peaceful environment for him to do that.
I lost 60 pounds and still look soft. Here's what nobody told me. You know the grind. Eating raw.
It's very silent. If women could stay this silent, we could do our job.
That was good. That was good. We could listen. First of all, what time is it? Because we're going to be talking all day.
I mean, I couldn't have said it any better myself. I mean, Akon, he always spits. Did we lose something when we stopped talking about complementary roles? Obviously. These days, they came out with statistics, I think this week, about women leading in the workforce, like 57%. I mean, men still make more money because they're the ones that are opening up businesses and providing jobs. But I mean, it's still a struggle for a man to get a job. These days, they're actually, especially for a black man, they're actually hiring women and immigrants over black men every single time. Because why would you empower black men? Does that make sense? Put yourself in the enemy's shoes. Why would you empower black men? I would just give the woman the job, the role, because what is she going to do with money? She's not going to do anything but go shopping, go on vacation, post pictures, and overspend, because she's not a logical thinker and she's not responsible for her community to begin with. So can men still be expected to provide, lead, and build and all these things? How? So that's why it's kind of difficult, but you have to have your own companies, you have to have your own businesses. And if you do work for other men, that's fine. Learn how to follow so you can lead eventually, but you have to elevate. We can't stay in the same positions forever. You work for somebody from 15 to 25, and then you become the manager from 25 to 30, then you open up your own shit. And then you learn between 30 and 40, and then you become the boss and you hire other kids that may need an opportunity. But that goes into the infrastructure of like building societies and women taking care of the household. Taking care of the household is not lesser work. If raising children, managing the household, and creating stability are essential for society, why do we treat these contributions as secondary? They're not. They actually are more important. And what they spoke about as far as the rib and the man coming first or the woman coming first, it doesn't even matter. Me personally, I think the woman comes first. I think the woman was here, she had the mitochondrial gene, she gave birth to the man, but that doesn't mean that she leads society. Just because she gave birth to man doesn't mean she leads society. And it doesn't mean that the man leading society is more important than the woman. They're both very important. They're both equally important, but they're not equal in their roles. So the strong debate point is traditional roles can be choice and framework, but they shouldn't automatically become a prison for either sex. At the end of the day, a man can still help clean and cook sometimes, like here and there. Like I love when men cook, when they make some good barbecue or, whatever it is that they may be cooking. A lot of the times men cook better than women. A lot of the times men take care of children better than women. When I was a child, I like hanging with my dad way more than my mom. It was always more fun with dad. But dad still needs to be in the field working and building with other men at war, defending the tribe and doing things of that nature. And when dad comes home, yes, it's fun. And mom is there to nurture and build and help you and educate you as well. So it's just that the roles have gotten reversed on purpose. It's strategic to keep families divided. And now people don't even have children because all the women got all the jobs. They don't want to hire the men. And it's difficult for black men to build their businesses because they can't get business loans. Their grandfathers and their fathers didn't leave any inheritance. So they got to build up from ground up. They got to maybe sell drugs. Then they end up in prison. So they get set back while the women get all the high paying jobs. And then they don't come home and give the money to their men. Sometimes they do. And those are great women that see the vision and understand. But most of the time they take that money, go on vacation, travel, or think they don't need a man anymore. Because what would they need a man for if they're making $180,000, $160,000 as a nurse in a corrupt health system that keeps everybody sick so they can continue down this path? You got so many nurses, these nurse bays and HR bays, and there's so many different bays now. These corporate bays, boss babes, that they're bosses, but they don't have any employees. If you're a boss, you should have employees. That's what the word boss means. People be like, I'm going to work, I had to talk to my boss. I'm like, you're talking about your supervisor. That's not a boss. I'm a boss. When you're a boss, you have employees. So you have a supervisor, you have an overseer. In slavery, the overseer is not the boss. He's dirty. He's outside working. He lives probably just the same life as a slave. He's just an overseer. But you got women going to work telling you, I heard from their boss, and they'll talk to their man crazy, but won't even talk to their overseer that way. So it's a lot of contention within the household on who's the leader and who's not. when women maybe were not biologically and psychologically created to lead in that way. So it's Hey Rule Damu. I'm gonna see y'all on the next one.